New Sitetheory platform. This is the login page. If you don't have an account, you can sign up with an email and a phone number. Or if you already have an account, you can simply sign in. If you forgot your password, you can always click Forget Password and it'll send you a new password if you remember which phone number you used to sign up. This is the dashboard. When you first log in, we'll obviously be creating a lot more options here, but essentially you have quick access to add content, to look at all your recent content. And if you have multiple sites, it's really easy to manage multiple sites. Simply click here and you can go to additional sites that you are authorized to edit. So you don't need to log in, log out. Everything is connected together. In general, if you need to edit your own user information, obviously you can go up here, change your user profile settings, reset passwords, or sign out. And up here you'll see is a little icon where we've hidden most of your advanced settings for your site, which I'll go over. And then other things like subscriptions, billing history, access roles, permissions, and third-party integrations. And I can explain how those work a little bit later. But in general, we've tried to keep things very simple. So on your dashboard, you can manage any domains that are pointed to your site, messages that have come in from contact forms, members, if you have site members or you've granted access to different team members with different roles, you can access them there. And you can create new sites, one or more sites under the Sites section. Right now we're editing a demo site, and I want to just explain to you that there's essentially two main types of content. Regular content, which is where you will create things like articles, profiles, properties, events, anything like that. So, or modules, you would just literally click these things, these icons here, and you can easily create different pieces of content. And content in general are individual pages on your site that have their own URL. So for example, a team page where you have all your team members, each of these individual pieces, team members are a piece of content. So you see this is a page for Deborah Brightman and it has its own URL and it's an individual piece of content. Now the difference is that on a page like this is called a collection, or we call it a stream. And it's a collection of many pieces of content. So when you're creating your site, generally speaking, we first create several landing pages or section pages that are collections of lots of pieces of content. And then but as you go forward and you create your website, you'll be creating individual pieces of content. And you'll tell them to go to stream to individual or to one or more collection pages. And so one piece of content like this individual profile could show up on this team page, and it could show up on a home page. It could show up on a news or blog page as a new piece of information, really simply, and I'll show you how that's done, but basically just through tagging. You create tags and the content goes to lots of different places. So when you want to create a piece of content, actually before we get into the content, let me explain a little bit more how the streams work. So there's the stream section, and that page that we were just on was the team stream. So there are two different types of stream. One is a collection stream, like what we just looked at for the team, Meet the Team. And another is a landing page. And a landing page is more like a home page, like this, where you have big blocks, big sections with big modules. And the idea of a landing page is that it's meant to be very simple, have really clear value propositions and calls to action, and communicate your most important information up front, and as people, and hopefully that you're going to get somebody to take action. And if not, they're going to scroll down and learn a little bit more. And then, ideally you would have some sort of additional call to action at each of these sections. And so as people are going down, they're going to be more and more convinced, okay, this is this person I trust, this is a business or an organization that I feel knows what they're talking about, so I'm going to take action. And that's part of a site planning process where you want to think about what your main conversion goals are for each audience, and then make sure that you structure your content in a way that's beautiful, but particularly funnels people to those conversion goals and simplifies your content to only communicate the things that are the most important for your particular audience. And so we want to keep these main links to be, roughly 4 to 5 main links, and as people go to these individual sections, then there's more information. But you really want to keep your site as simple as possible, because people have about 30 seconds to 2 minutes on your website, and if they don't take action, they're going to get interrupted by a kid who comes in, or a phone call, or some other event, and they're not going to take action, and then you've basically lost a potential lead, or you've missed an opportunity. So in general, these streams, if we were to look at this meet the team stream, this is in the admin. As I mentioned, we're here in the streams section as opposed to the content section, and the streams are these pages, as I mentioned here, where you have multiple pieces of content. So when I'm editing, I can always choose to just edit directly, or I can choose to edit the layout or SEO settings or multiple versions. So we have a really great versioning system, which I'll explain to you. I'm going to look real quickly at the layout so you understand what I'm talking about. But essentially, every different piece of content has multiple different layouts that you can use, which gives you lots of flexibility when you're constructing your site, because you can make different types of pages, have different layouts depending on what your goals are and what kind of content you need to display. But at the top, you see the name of this particular page, Meet the Team. You see a URL, a friendly URL that can be edited directly here if you want, or you can go to the SEO section to edit one or more URLs. And then you can add this stream to your menu if you want. But you see here a stream, a collection stream, can be laid out in many different ways. You can have 3 cards, 2 cards, flips. You can have more like a news section, 1x2 news section, lots of tiny little cards, more like a directory list, 4 cards, directory cards, etc. So you really have a lot of flexibility, and all you need to do is just choose the layout, and then the page itself will change. And I'll kind of show you an example of that here. If we were to go to, this is a stream that is, at this point, it's a property stream that's set up to be basically like a news layout with 2 on each row. I've exposed here, and you actually have this option on a stream to expose this bar with 1 or more different viewing options. In this case, we've exposed all of them for you because this is a demo site. But you can easily see that if I was to changing this is essentially the same thing as changing here in the layout, but it's not permanent. It's only on the basis of the particular visitor. But if I was to change it in the admin, essentially the page is going to change the layout. It's the exact same content, but it's just laid out in a different way. So you can choose what works best for you and your particular content. And at any point your content changes, you add more, you can change. Maybe you want 3 up in the beginning, but later you decide you want 2 or 4. You can see we've just got a lot of different layout options, and review is 5 cards. They become very tiny, which sometimes is appropriate if you just want to display tons of information. You can view it as a directory list. We could view it as news. This would be more like a blog. So these are properties, but you see that it instantly looks more like a blog. This is more as a news 2/3, which is very similar, just a little bit larger. You could view it as directory cards. Actually, that doesn't look correct. This would be more like 2 up with an overview. So just a lot of different options for you. So that is essentially what a stream does, and you can choose the layouts. Okay? And if we were to go and edit a stream, you'll see there's a few options that are available to you. Obviously, you can change the title of the page, add subtitles, and then you have a couple different options. The content on the stream can either come in based on tags or based on curated content where you've manually selected the content that you want to show up on this particular stream. And the advantage of that is if you have, less than, let's say, 20 pieces of content and you really want to control the order in which it shows up, then you would want to do curated content, because you can then choose which person is going to show up first as opposed to some random or alphabetical by last name, first name, whatever. But if you have a lot of, like a blog, for example, where you always want the most recent blog showing up, you're going to choose to show based on tags. And in that case, then whenever you've added a new piece of content and you've tagged it blog or whatever you want, then it'll automatically show up on the page. So as an example here, if we were to go and look at like a blog, essentially everything that is tagged will show up on this page automatically. So you can choose to curate the content or show up by tags. And then whenever you want to add more content, you just click one of these. You can search in here to find your content. You can add it. And then if you need to, you can reorder your content to be in whatever order you feel is more appropriate. And if you need to, you can obviously delete this from the list, or you can edit this directly from the collection itself. And from there, it's easy to sort of to know how to edit the content, because you might see it on the page and not be sure how to access it. But that's how you do it. And now we're into editing a piece of content, which is a profile. And I'll show you a little bit more about that in a minute. But essentially, also on every page, you have several other options in terms of you can have a header image that shows up. So on a page, for example, like let's say the selling page. This page has no header image. You can see it just because it's already got a lot of content on the page. But a header, an additional page like a landing page like this might have a header area with an image here with some sort of a value proposition and call to action. And so you can do that by adding header image. And then we have conversions. So on every page you can add like a call to action, a bigger, smaller information underneath, a value proposition, and then a button. And you can say what kind of action you want it to open up the contact pop-up. For example, like this contact pop-up, which you can control what shows up in here. Or you can have it go to a particular URL. Like this at the moment is going to go to the contact page because that's what's set up at the moment. So again, this is a landing stream. As you can see, it's like a home page, but it's laid out a little bit differently with different modules or whatever. But it's still a stream of lots of pieces of content. Okay, and then of course you've got advanced options here. Where you can control all sorts of things, which we won't get into, but essentially you can enable a featured item, enable that page layout selector that I was showing you on the property page. Let's see, where are we? Properties, where we got to choose the different layouts right here. You can choose to enable that on any particular stream page if you want, and then you can say which ones you want to show up. You can hide page titles, you can display the content in different ways, how you want the elements to show up, ratios, etc. And then of course there's different admin options where you can actually control security, restrict permissions to particular pages to individuals or roles, and then internal notes for you and your team. So that's a stream where you are creating pages that are collections of lots of different content, and then you decide how that should be controlled. And an example here of the blog where I was showing you that it's controlled by tags. You can see here this blog says it's going to be populated dynamically based on tags, and we've got the tag blog. You could add other tags here, and then it's going to show all content that's tagged blog, and also all content that's tagged staging or buying or something like that. And then that's it. That's all you need to do. So generally speaking, once you've set up a collection, you don't really edit it very much, because it's just going to be displaying all of your individual content. So for the most part, your daily editing is going to be under the content section. And as I mentioned previously, under the content section, you can add new pieces of content by clicking these buttons here. This is an article, a profile, property, filtered property list, mortgage calculator, events, contact forms, sign-in pages, and other things that are available based on your subscriptions and what kind of a site that you have. But in general, it's really easy. All your content flows into this one single page, and you can very easily filter it. So if I want to see only articles, I can filter by only articles, and there are all my articles. And an article can be, a blog, a news, or even just a basic page. If I want to also see profiles, I can show both articles and profiles. And if I want to search by a particular word like design, I can do that. And I'm going to see, in case we have a profile and an article here, that both have the word design in them. Now, if I was to, for example, to edit, let's say I was to edit a profile. In this case, you can see that the site itself is not, this particular page is not published yet, and so this is red because any changes we make are not actually visible publicly yet. It's all based on versioning, so you can preview everything beforehand. But of course, you can change the titles, the subtitles, the descriptions, obviously edit your individual content, and choose one or more images. So this is the image library, and you can very easily add multiple images. And then if necessary, you can obviously reorder these images into a different order. You can easily view the image larger and actually change information about it. You can change the title up here to whatever you might need. So let's say this is going to be bakery with goodies. Okay, and you can add descriptions, add tags for organization, and if you need to, you can add related media. So sometimes, if your media is a video or an audio or something, you can add a document, supporting document or whatever. Generally speaking, it doesn't make sense to add images to images because they're pretty self-defining. But in certain cases, it's worth it. And of course, you can search your media for any sort of keyword as well to see if to find whatever you need. And if you've added more than one image, you'll see other options appear. Because by adding more than one image, you've created a carousel. So it's going to be like a slideshow. You can have it autoplay. You can control the speed, how many slides per view, transition effects, the general ratios, whether the images are cropped or have columns above or to the side, whether you want a counter to show up, whether captions should be displayed, etc. And then there's additional options here depending on the the content type. Again, we're editing a profile here, and a profile can be something like an individual, it could be a community, it could be offices, it could be a group, all sorts of things. In this case, we are editing a real estate site, so we've got extra tabs here for like real estate, for example. But you can add contact information, phones, emails, location, address, social media, links that are relevant, licenses, alternative languages, etc. And all this the standard advanced stuff. So under advanced, you'll see actually, if you wanted to, on an individual page, you can add modules that are going to show up above or below, and where they're going to show up in the body, etc. And then you can add header images, videos, audios, resources like PDFs, etc. And of course, all your conversion goals up at the top. That's going to show up at the top of the page with calls to action, value propositions. And here you'll see that what we've done is we've said that this particular piece of profile is going to, destination is going to be communities. We could also easily have it show up on the blog. So we would just simply find the blog, or we could type blog and select the blog. And now it's going to show up on any page, any stream that's set to display content for communities and content for blog. Okay? Now, at any point, if I want to, I can preview this particular page. I just click this button, and I'm going to preview it. And when I'm previewing, I'm actually getting into a preview mode on the website, which means that I'm viewing everything that's not published, but the latest version of anything that's not published. And you'll see there's a preview bar up at the top now, and you can see that it's not published. I'm viewing this that's not published. But I can easily see all the content that we've added. You'll notice that these images initially are a little blurry. It's because what we have is lazy loading that allows things to load very quickly, no matter what device you're on. And then as you scroll down the page, they come into focus because they're loaded. So it makes load times much faster, which is good for individuals, but also good for SEO. And we load the best size image that is appropriate for that particular device size. So if you're on a phone, you're going to get probably images that are a little bit smaller because it's appropriate for that device size. Other additional things at the bottom of the site, you can control a lot of things if you want some sort of like a marketing footer that shows a lot of information. This is all dynamic, can be added, removed, or whatever. I can show you how that's done as well. But you see this is a profile page that's pretty filled out. It's, in this case, it's just fake. It's just a person's name. But it could easily be anything. It has downloadable resources, other additional references, other modules that are showing up, additional modules. And you'll see here this little edit button. We're in preview mode, so now we easily, if I need to, I can easily edit this content. So I don't necessarily know where this content is located in my admin, but I can browse the site in preview mode and either edit this particular page or edit individual pieces of content that are on the page, if I need to know how to do that. Okay. Additionally, you'll see there's no calls to action here, but if I was to go into this section of conversion goals and I was to enter a mini title, this is a title, and then this is, let's say, act now, and then this would be more like, don't forget to click contact in order to let us know what you think. I could put a value proposition. This, you probably wouldn't want to put all this stuff, but this is a value proposition for you to consider. And a button name like get in touch. And in this case, I'm going to say open up the contact pop-up. What you notice up here too is this button is continuing to turn red and then go away, because it's auto-saving everything. Everything is saved, and if you're away for more than half an hour, or someone else was the last person to edit, it'll create a new version, and you can view all the past versions here and revert if you need to. So now if we look at this page, we'll see that there should be this information up at the top of the page, which gives you a great way to promote information. And obviously you want to choose an image that's appropriate so you can read it. But all this information that we added is up here. And it really allows you to optimize every single page for particular conversion goals. So every page of your site needs to be thinking about, what do I want this person to do? And you got to give them a very clear avenue and call to action to do that particular goal that you have. Don't just make pages randomly. If somebody's looking at a profile, okay, great. Now what do you want them to do after they've read your profile and have confidence that you can help them? You want to give them the call to action. Okay, so that's generally the case. In this case, we've got layouts. We're back here in the admin, again, under content, and we're editing a piece of a profile. I can edit the information here. Let's see. This is the title. So up there it says Danielle Meyer, but you could easily say, Hillsborough Community. It's going to change. up there. Now this page is called Hillsborough Community. I can change the URL here, or I can again go to the SEO. So let's quickly go to the SEO section so you can see a few things. You can control all the main important stuff for search engine optimization. If you want, you can make any particular page in your site the home page. So it doesn't just have to be one page. You could change it. You could have different home pages if you need to. You can create additional aliases. So let's say in general you want this page to be Communities Hillsborough, but if somebody was to type just Hillsborough, you might want that to redirect to the primary URL, which is Community Hillsborough. So that's great for making quick links for people. If you just want to say, hey, go to my website.com/Chad, and it'll go to website.com/Chad, which redirects to team/Chadwick Meyer. It's a great way. You can make as many of these aliases as you need to. You can control sharing options, how things show up in search engines and social media, images, alternative open graph stuff, and then, as we mentioned previously, conversion goals. So that's under the SEO. Under layout, every different type of content has a different type of layout. So in articles or profiles or properties or whatever are going to give you different options. And we're still in beta here, so sorry, some of these we don't have images uploaded yet, so that's why you're seeing some of this type of stuff. Also, you'll notice that things are a little bit slow to load. It's because my internet connection at the moment is a little slow, but the website itself is actually really responsive and fast. And here we have obviously a profile, so I could change, let's say I was to change the profile to this interview style. This is going to automatically save. I can reload this page, but there's obviously these other layouts here that are available to accomplish different things. So now this is more of a different layout here. We've got the title, big images here. These are the images we selected. It just gives you a different feel that's available. And if I was to change it to more of this hero layout, we're going to see an image next to a, obviously in this case here, we wouldn't want a big image at the top of the page. It's a little bit weird to have that big image and then enter in. But you see, this can be a really beautiful layout as well. Extra links that we've entered. Anyways, you've got a lot of options. When you're in edit mode, as I mentioned, you can always edit the existing page that you're at. One other thing, let's go to the home page now that we're in preview mode, and I'll show you that again. Oftentimes it's a little bit hard to figure out what you want to edit on a particular page. So when you're in preview mode, as I mentioned, you see that I can easily edit these different pieces of content. So in this case, this is a module. This is a module here. You can see it's a custom module with a quote inside of it. This is a custom module with multiple properties that are streaming into dynamically based on tags. So this is actually really interesting. This properties module here, we're going to open up we're going to edit that particular page, and this properties module is actually functioning like a stream in the sense that it's just a module. So modules show up on a page, but they don't actually have their own page. They don't have their own URL. So a module will show up, and you can use it on an individual landing page, for example. And in this case, this module allows us to specify that we want to show, in this case, we've got curated content. So we're showing particular properties, but we could easily show content based on tags. So when we're looking at the home page, for example, and we've got blogs, this is set to show the latest blogs based on the tag blog. So the newest ones are always going to show up here on the home page because it's just dynamically coming in. So this is a module that functions essentially like a collection page, but it's a module that you can put on other pages. This is a module that's set to show multiple content as well. That's set to show all the communities that are curated in a particular order. This is also a module that shows multiple other modules. So a module can contain other modules where we've customized things to make it look exactly how you want. And then when you need to edit it again, you just click edit. So that's essentially, the modules are really, really powerful and flexible. When you go to create a module, you have a couple options in the beginning to kind of guide you. Then you can make, this one's a completely custom module, so it has all the options. But initially, when you create a module, you can create a button module, quote, kind of a section divider, which a section divider would be more like something like this, where you've got a quote showing up above it, or like this, where you've got call to action, but you've got an image that's in the background that's parallax scrolling or whatever. And let's see, or in this case, in property collections are custom. All of these options obviously can give you extreme control over the way that your site needs to look to accomplish various conversion goals that you have. But sometimes it's really helpful to have a designer that's going to help you professionally. So if you ever need help, you can obviously ask our support team, which is available to show you how to train you and to show you how to use the admin. But when you need custom design or professional help to make sure things look good, which is usually important in the very beginning when you first set up your site, we are available to provide that support. Okay, and then lastly, of course, you can control your menu. So the menu is quite simple. You can edit these at any point. In this case, this is a main link. The menu you can control in your site settings how the menu functions, but essentially, in this case, the website is set to have clickable drop-down links. In this case, there's no drop-down on these ones. These are directly going to landing pages themselves, and these ones have subsections. And when you look at the admin, you see selling and buying are going directly to a page. These ones have subsections. And it's just as simple as editing this, changing the name, specifying where you want the content to go, whether it's going to go to a piece of content or a specific URL. You can toggle the settings on or off. So in this case, let's say we don't want this contact page to show up anymore. We can easily toggle it off so it's no longer visible. Toggle back on. And we can drag these around. So in this case, we can make the blog show up underneath, and you can delete them if you need to, and that's it. Add new links, or if you want to add a new link under this section, you just hit add here, and it's going to open up a new editor, and you can add that as a child. All right, and lastly, under the settings here, site settings. So first of all, let's just look at site theme. You can choose different layouts of your website based on themes that are available. Right now, again, as I mentioned, we don't have previews for all these, but we do have all these themes available. So when you are browsing the website here, not in preview mode, this is a demo site. So I'm going to get out of preview mode here, and there's a preview bar that shows up at the top that allows us to switch to different themes just to kind of preview it. But essentially, you can change your theme to any of the options that are available. We'll add more images here. You can change colors and fonts, so your main branding colors that can be added. You can see my primary color, how is this used? My pop color, how is it used? And so if you change this color, you'll see how it looks when it's used on a button or with text over top. And so for some, in some cases, you wouldn't want to use a certain color that's not going to blend well, because we need to make sure that things look good. And you can change font sizes and other sort of social media colors, or you can add your own custom CSS. You can control how the menu is going to work, whether it's how many levels, whether you have a sidebar or everything's up in the top bar menu, whether you want a footer sitemap. Headers and logos, you can obviously add your own logo. It can be a lot of different options of how your logo shows up as SVG or PNG, transparency or whatever. Choose your ratio. In this case, the logo is just an SVG, so we paste it in the SVG code. And you can see how it's going to look. We have a lot of smart styling. You can control your fave icon, which is the little icon that shows up in the tab. And then the footer, you can choose to toggle on the marketing footer, which is what I was describing to you previously. This area here, and you can choose what kind of information you wanted to show up in that marketing footer. If you want it to be an image, if you want it to be a background, and we give you a little preview of kind of how that's going to look based on the changes. You can change the brightness. So if you've got an image that's a little bit darker, you can change the brightness of it so that it's going to pop off a little bit more. Change it back to something that's a little bit more bright. Just depends on what you need for your particular website. And you can add association logos to your footer, etc. A lot of options. Under the settings here, we'll go to the main settings as well, which is your site settings. We can control your name and additional information about your website, your main contact information. So in this case, this is a sample site that has a lot of individuals on the website, so we've got a lot of phones listed, which is why in the footer, all these individual phones are listed here. But lots of people have one particular main phone. In this case, main phone numbers for individuals with different labels, custom labels. And we've chose to group this contact information by label, which is why, Deborah Brightman has all of her stuff grouped together because it's under the same label. Okay. And obviously you can control your social media, licenses, alternative languages. Alternative languages is useful here because, for example, if I was to go to just an example site that has alternative languages enabled, you can choose existing languages, or we can add additional ones. You can say where you want that button to go. So this particular website, for example, needed to have additional Chinese language. So up here, the languages that we've added show up. And it goes to different landing pages for different languages. Okay, and obviously you can control conversion goals for a particular website. So the call to action is what shows up at the top of the page here. It's this Let's Talk button. You can call it whatever you want, but when people open it, the information that you want, you can make a custom form here. You can enable different fields that do different things depending on actions. Obviously we've got scheduling a meeting, phone number, email. She doesn't have any social media, but if they did, they would show up here. Okay, and then of course you can customize the pop-up form. You can have information like how you want to do lead generation. You can email the sender a response. So once somebody fills out one of your forms, you can send them an email response back. You can make multiple contact forms in your site that do different things based on your conversion goals for that area or for that particular page. Let's say you have a landing page for particular marketing purposes. Your legal information, if you want a legal footer, various different options. If you want to enable a sign-in button for accounts, you can do that. How you want your site to be accessed, the version that your site is on, your domains, etc. You can control different access roles for different team members, particular advanced permissions. It's very powerful for collaborating with the team. And then third-party integrations. So third-party integrations are going to be things like Google Maps or Google reCAPTCHA. So you can add those really easily here. And that is essentially how the site works. You can see that it's very simple layout. We've really chosen to separate out content from design and then give you curated design options so that pretty much anybody can add content to the site very easily just through a simple web form. And they can choose some curated options for the layout, and it's just gonna, no matter what you do, for the most part, it's gonna look good. You have to try pretty hard to make things look bad. And so that's really behind our philosophy of separating out content from design, because we have a lot of experience, 20 years of experience working with clients who, we create a beautiful site and then we come back 6 months later to show someone and it looks horrible, which is not a great feeling for us, but it's really bad for the client because they're losing a lot of credibility. And they didn't mean to, but they're not qualified to be making design decisions. And so what we've tried to do is really separate that out so that you have complete control over your content and your content strategy, but you can rest assured that it's going to look good. Okay, so that's the general overview. I hope that made a lot of sense. If you have more questions, of course, you can get in touch with us, and our team, of course, is always available to provide you tours and support how to use the admin. And then, of course, if you're a pro client, you have a webmaster assistant that's dedicated to you to actually add content for you, make sure that it looks good. Thanks so much.